Welcome to Joy Della Fashion Guide. Today's video I'm going to be making a bubu kaftan like you see in the picture on the screen. So this is the fabric I'm working with, exact fabric, and then this is the asoke. So let's go right into the folding. I'll just quickly run you through the measurements. The full length of the bubu is 58 inches, so I'll just add 2 inches to that, so that will be 60. So I'm going to have a total length of 120 folded into 2, then having front and back. I'll show you what it looks like after folding. The bust circumference I'm working with is 38, the waist is 32, the hip is also 38, and then the shoulder to the bust is 10.5 inches, the shoulder to waist is 17 inches, shoulder to the hip line is 25 inches. I'm going to be working with a neck width of 3.5, and I'm going to be working with a shoulder of 14 inches. So the sleeve is going to be 14 inches, and then the sleeve opening is going to be 10 inches. So let's just go right in. So I'll just quickly fold this off camera and then show us what it looks like. So this is the back pattern. It's folded into 2, and then this is the front pattern, folded into 2 as well. So you place the back pattern on the front pattern. We are going to be drafting both of them together. So make sure you arrange it well, making both of them to align at the sides and at the top as well. You can use your pin to secure it, and then at the top we are going to rule our starting line. Just mark half inch starting line. So all our measurements will start from there. Sorry, the chalk is not showing very well. Next, so that is half inch. Next is to mark half of the shoulder measurement. So you are not going to add any extra allowance to that. Allowance to that. So just mark your exact. If your shoulder is 15, mark 7.5. If it is 14, that means 7. You will not add same allowance. You mark the exact because it's a cut together shoulder with sleeve. Next, you mark the neckline. I'm marking 3.5 as the neck width. And then after marking the shoulder, the next thing is to mark the sleeve length. The sleeve length I'm working with is 14 inches. So where the neck ends, I will mark where the shoulder ends. From there, I'll mark the 14 inches. And then I'll come down by 1 inch shoulder slope. I'll connect it to the neckline. So just take your ruler, connect the shoulder slope from the end of the sleeve to the neckline. So you mark it like as you see me do, and then we'll also add half inch seam allowance for the joining of the shoulder. So add half inch seam allowance, that is to join the shoulder and the sleeve. Remember, it's a cut together sleeve with shoulder. So we'll add half inch to the top. So next thing, we are going to take the armhole depth. So for the armhole depth, you can use shoulder to the bust line as the armhole depth. So next, you are going to be marking shoulder to the bust, shoulder to waist, and then shoulder to hip. So I'm marking the vertical measurement, shoulder to the bust line, shoulder to the waistline, then shoulder to hip. I'm just repeating on the other side so that I can have a straight line. So once you are done with that, just use your ruler to connect the lines together, the dots together. So this is the bust line, the waistline, and the hip line. So for the armhole depth for the sleeve, I'm going to be using the shoulder to the waistline, to the bust line. So that will be the sleeve opening, and then I'll add 1 inch for seam. So on the waistline, I'm going to impute 1/4 of the hip circumference plus ease allowance. So I'm adding 2 inches for ease because my client doesn't want it too big. So on the hip line, I'll also mark that 1/4 of the hip measurement plus 2 inches of seam, and then 2 inches for ease and 1 inch for seam, 1.5 inch for seam. So if you like, on the waistline, if you want your bubu to have shape, you use the 1/4 of the waist measurement with plus ease allowance and then plus seam allowance. So on the bust line, I'm going to repeat what I have on the hip line. On the hip line, I have 1/4 of the hip measurement plus 2 inch of ease and then 1.5 inch of seam. So I'm just going to connect that from the bust to the waist and then to the hip. So the hip kind of had a little shape. I'm just cross-checking what I have there so that I can get the armhole, the sleeve curve. I'm just checking if it's correct. So the next thing now, I'm just going to mark it straight down. So I'll just roll it straight down from the chest to from the bust to the waist to the hip and then straight down. So whatever you have on the waistline, mark it at the hem of the bubu. And then for the armhole, you just use your armhole curve to get that curve. So I'm just cross-checking what I have to make sure that my measurement is correct. So always cross-check before you cut. So don't forget, the armhole opening is the shoulder to the bust line. That's what I use it for, the armhole opening, plus 1 inch for seam allowance. So I'm going to now mark the neck, the neck depth for the back. We are using 1.5. So it's going to have a round neckline for the back, 1.5 depth, but the neck width for front and back is the same. So I'm just using my French curve to mark that out. So I'm going to cut both of them together for using the back neckline first, and then I'll cut out the side, the armhole side. I also cut the shoulder slant. So just watch what I'm doing. Just trying to see if I have enough for the sleeve. So I think I have excess. I'm going to be cutting that off because the sleeve length is 14 inches, and then we add half inch to fold the edge of the sleeve. So go ahead now and cut the side. So after cutting the side, you are going to separate the back pattern from the front pattern. So before we do that, we'll just mark where the pocket will be. To know where to fix the pocket, you mark from the shoulder to the waistline. Remember we marked it before, but after cutting now we have to remark it. So from the shoulder to the waistline, that's where you're going to put the pocket. Just notch it as you have seen me do. So the opening of the pocket is going to be 7 inches. So you can also mark where the pocket will end, so that will serve as a guide when you are attaching the pocket. And then this one that we have cut out, we are going to use it to create the pocket. So I'll remove the back piece so that we can cut out the front neckline. So the front neckline is a V neckline, and it's going to be 7 inches in depth. So remember we have taken 1.5 before, so take that into consideration when you are placing your tip. And then we mark 7 inches. At that 7 inches point, we'll go in by 1 inch to create the neckline design that we want. We'll go in by 1 inch, and then we connect it to the neckline. We connect it to the neckline. So it's like a kind of a V. Next thing is to cut it out. So this point we are going to iron gum stay there so that we can keep that part of the fabric firm. So this is what it looks like after cutting the neckline. So don't forget, iron gum stay on this part. To cut out the asoke, we are going to measure around the neckline. But before we do that, we are going to join the front and the back shoulders together. So place the back pattern on the front pattern with the right side facing each other, and then we are going to stitch 1/2 inch. We are going to join the shoulders by 1/2 inch, same allowance. We'll repeat same for the other side. Just make sure it aligns, and then we stitch with 1/2 inch, same allowance. After that, we are going to notch the middle of the back pattern of the back neckline. Just notch the middle. Then we are going to measure around the neckline. So from that middle, you measure up to the middle of the front. So that will be ×2, and then you add extra 5 inches before we cut it out, or you simply just measure everything. So the wideness of the asoke is going to be 1.5 inch, and then we're going to be adding 1/2 inch for seam. So another way is just to measure the whole neckline, measure the whole back, and then measure the whole front, and whatever you get, you add 5 inches to that. So we are going to fold our asoke to get the strip. So it's going to be on fold, and the wideness will be 2 inches, so that when we are done sewing, it will become 1.5. So we'll mark 2 inches. So remember the length as well. So we'll also mark the length. Don't forget you're going to add extra to whatever you have measured, then we cut it out. So for the other design in front, I'm going to be using this paper to illustrate it. So first of all, I'm going to get the mid part of this paper and just fold it like as you see me do, like this, because the asoke, we are going to be joining it. We are going to be joining the asoke. So we'll place it together. Just make sure the front are facing each other, and then we join the middle. Then we'll cut out what we want. After joining, we'll iron it flat. So you see this middle line, so that is why I folded that paper. So don't forget the top we are folding with 1/2 inch, the side we are folding in 1/2 inch, all around we are folding in 1/2 inch. So just watch how I'm going to draft it on this paper. So the width of this paper is going to be the width of the asoke, the width that you have there. And then for the length for this side, we are going to be using 10 inches, and then for the other side we are going to be using 14 inches. So this paper is 11 inches wide, and then the side is 11 inches, is 14 inches long. So this side is 14 inches. So on this side that is 14, on one side I'll mark 10 inches, and then on the other side we have 14 inches. So we are going to slant it. So don't forget you add seam allowance round it. So instead of 14, that means this side will be 15, and then the wideness of the paper will be 11. So we are going to slant it using our ruler and our pencil. Just slant it, and then we'll cut it out. So that is how the design is. So don't forget, when you are before cutting it out, add the seam allowance. So you are going to be folding in the edges, 1/2 inch seam allowance all around it. So whatever I'm doing on this paper is what I'm going to do on the asoke when I cut it out. So I'll just fold 1/2 inch seam allowance around it. So after folding, the width of the pattern will now be 10 inches, while one side will be 10 inches long and the other side will be 14 inches long. So this down part will also fold it in with 1/2 inch seam allowance. So after folding everything in like this, we just use our iron to press everything down. So this is how the design will look like. So I'm going to use this to cut on the asoke. I'll come back to show you what it looks like. So this is what we have, the asoke after joining, and then we iron it down. Once you iron it, it will lay flat like this. So remember, our shape is going to be like this. Okay, so I'm going to take the shape after sewing the neckline, but this is how the shape will be. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to cut it here and also fold it. So this is for the sleeve. So for the sleeve, I fold in this side 1/2 inch. The side that is not folded, we'll place it on it like this, and then we are going to sew. We sew with 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then we'll flip it to the right side. and now complete it and now sew it down. So I'll do same to the other sleeve. And then for the neckline, you have to go ahead, you iron the middle so that you have this crease line, because we need it to position the center piece. We need it to position it. So this line has to correspond with this crease line on it like this, okay? And then this part that we are going to, by the time we sew the neckline, we are going to cut here diagonally. We'll cut here slant like this. We also cut here this corner. We'll cut it half inch, half inch. So that part, you need to secure it by ironing gum stay there. And then this is the piece that we have cut out for the neckline. So you just get the middle. Get the middle. This is the middle. You can go ahead and use your chalk or anything to mark it. This is the middle. Okay. This part is the middle. So I'm going to start pinning from the middle. So I'm pinning on the right side. This middle of this center back, the middle. So just place it on it like this. So we're going to go ahead and stitch down. Just take it like this. Like this. Take it like this, like this, like this, until we get to this corner. Okay, so once you get before this line, you are going to stop your stitch here. So you use your scissors to cut this diagonally. This is what I mean. We cut like this and we also cut like this. So when we are stitching, our stitch will stop there. So we stitch from this side, we stitch down like this till you get here, and then we continue from this center to this other side as well. We stitch, just take it till we also get to this corner. Okay, so I'll do that and I'll show you, then I'll show you how to turn it inside, and then we'll end with this. What we have after sewing the sleeve, turn it with the asoke, then I'll sew the neckline, then you flip it inside. Remember that place that you notch the corners, okay? Then you push them inside like this. Make sure you iron it. Then you flip the front pattern to the wrong side like this. So we are going to stitch this together with this. So this part will close it. So just arrange it well, then use your pin. See this part that we cut. So you are going to close it here. Okay, we close it here. Then you trim the excess. Okay, actually it's frayed, so once you cut, fold the remaining down, as in fold it twice so that it doesn't fray. Or use your zigzag machine to lock it. Use your overlock machine to lock it. So once you have sewn it in place, it will be something like this. And the next thing is to place this. So remember our midline. We iron it before to know the crease line. So this is the middle. And this will be on it like this. So this will be on the middle. This joining, I like to be on this midline like this. Okay. So you can use your pin to hold this in place before you stitch the inside. Then once you are done, we use this to cover here like this. Remember, we have a design, so you are going to slant it. So you can check your length if you are okay with the length. I want mine to stop 1 inch before the waistline. So I want to stop at 23. That is, it will be 14 inches long. Okay. So on this side, you can mark the 14 inches. Right now it's on 15, so just mark the 14 inches here. And then on this side, you mark 10 inches. Okay, so we'll slant it this way. Hope you are seeing what I'm doing. So you determine your length, then here is 14 for me, here is 10. Then you slant it. Of course, you add seam allowance. Okay, so let's say this part is the seam allowance. I'll just adjust this to this point here. I use 1/2 inch to fold it, or 1 inch, and then from here I just slant it. I slant it like this. Okay, then add seam allowance before you cut it. So I'll cut this side off. So I'm going to use iron to fold it down. Just fold it down. Okay. So after folding it down so that it will be like this other side, then the next thing, I'll use my pin to hold this in place to make sure that it is, this middle joining is on this center. Just place it. Use my pin to hold it in place. So make sure that it also corresponds with the middle line here. So here is the middle line. Then I'll just stitch. I'll stitch on it like this. But when you are stitching, you have to stitch on only the front pattern. Don't add the down part to it. Stitch on only the front pattern. So I'll quickly do that now and show you, then close up the side, add the pocket, and we are done. So this is it after sewing the neckline. So after stitching that place, I tack it down. So we are going to sew the design. I've already cut it out and I've ironed it. So you take the back pattern away, just the front. Remember the crease line, that is the middle. It should correspond with the center. So you need your pins at this time. So just pin it in place and then you stitch. So once you are through with that, just place the back over it. Like this. And then use your seam allowance to join from the sleeve from here straight down. Then once you are through with that, you attach the pocket. Take note of your notches. So you attach the pocket. So just allow it to match like this and like this. After that, we fold the down with the same allowance that we have left. You fold it 1/2 inch first and then you now fold again, and that will be all.